Are we rolling, Bob? So this is the first place that I'm at the Drake, and in Mayfield Heights, Ohio. And when it was called the Marsal, I lived here in like 88 or 89 after high school. And a number of things happened. One, first time I ever saw Bob Dylan's Ronaldo and Clara. Thank you, Chuck Tishman. First time I ever saw Last Tango in Paris. And the first time I ever ate sushi. And it's the first time I ever recorded myself reading poetry on a video camera that I had. So, I hope to God I'm not like that snake that's swallowing its own tail. Because I guess everything really is circular and comes around again. We're going to read some older and some newer poetry. This first one, I want to read it for Anthony Bourdain. Modern day Job, wasabi lawyer. The drugs I'm taking from my back are wiping me out. I'm a space cadet, looking for a suitable planet to call home. If you're going to be a tried and true artist, you must sacrifice everything. This isn't some romantic notion or ploy to entice someone into a bear trap. Everything's a chore, as life is presented to me as a coat of arms, and I fight the unreality of being boxed in or hugged by a Westworld robot. Let's stop the chit-chat and get down to the reality of a 1-2 punch and being laid out like an action painting or catalog, not even worth wiping your ass with. Fuck power and money, and the secrets shared behind closed doors. White Jeep! By very small individuals who have no empathy whatsoever or concept of what is truly real versus what's virtual reality. I have never felt comfortable in the shower. Are there directions on how to properly wash myself? Too much sleight of hand and orifices just out of reach. I feel like it's a game of tic-tac-toe I'll never win. I thought Dr. Oz was exposed as a fraud, and the Tin Man was just another anti-hero, looking for a protagonist to take advantage of. So much shit flying everywhere. Not sure I'll ever feel at peace again. The terrorists won, inducing fear into our baby talk and every other mode of conversation, including pig Latin and psycho babble. You want the truth? I'll tell you. The last time I husked the truth, I was on another fucking planet, where everyone dressed alike, and that metallic taste in your mouth, it meant you were home sweet home. This poem is from Mark Mannheimer. Underbelly. Snake. Slithering snake. Forked tongue. Lights out. Opaque civilization. Shoot the messenger, don't shoot the messenger. The truth will always find a way to rise to the top. No one appreciates the written word. Even God Almighty found the Bible to be lacking something. Trust yourself. Even and especially when it feels like you don't have a friend in this world. Porous mind, check into the unconscious hotel. Meet me by the blue bus, Al. Room service will blow your mind into mirrors of elasticity. I've never wanted to be a soldier. I've only wanted to be a writer. Now I'm both. As urban camouflage wreaks havoc on my superego. Mark, this poem's for you. I haven't a clue why. Perhaps you can explain it to me over lunch, dinner, or a walk in the park. This one's for Violet. And actually, when I met Lori Lilac, I believe it was when I was living at Marsal. Tracers. No ulterior motives, hidden agendas, or swamp coolers dangled over our heads. She's as real as they come, like black licorice or an antecedent disqualified but not yet disproven. We will go into the desert wearing nothing but our Charlie Don't Surf t-shirts. Got hooked on heroin because that's what chicks like her do when they grow bored and worn down by life's ironies and unmapped mysteries. Einstein's a genius, as was Tesla and Churchill, if you focus on their deeds and not their follies. Unlocking Violet's vault out of the question until you sacrifice everything, including your secretive persona. Time to lean against the wall and pee. This sciatica, it'll be the death of me. Once we're in close proximity, I promise to pick up all of my pieces, and I'll do my best to put myself back together again, like Charles Bronson did years after he had a death wish, and he went the way of a cancerous tumor with a dollop of Alzheimer's on top for good measure. This is for a cam model, one of those cam models. Group sex and jazz. Listening to jazz. Her flashes, the only flashes I need to bring me back to life. Called me a broke ass, and it hurt because it was true. And I know dollar signs are the only things right now adding up for her. Stick your finger in the socket and shoot off like a rocket to uncharted planets. Go ahead and listen till you're blue in the face and lemon juice is running down your supple thighs. We started off as strangers, but by the time she was through introducing me to the record collection streaming in her mind, I knew we'd been connected long before either one of us called Earth our home. We're caterpillar astronauts. We have a plan of attack that has everything to do with survival and very little to do with greed or gluttony or the self-interest of most cam models or poets. I'll never forget the first time I entered her from behind. How the noises she made reminded me of a bird sanctuary I had visited once in Florida. She enjoys being made love to by multiple partners because she says it helped her to cover up a multitude of sins. Reading The Abortion by Richard Brodigan to her is a memory I yearn to create, and that's even before we rob our first bank and refer to one another as Bonnie and Clyde. Chasing our collective blues away by getting lost in a rainbow of colors yet thought of, and one final kiss from her full lips that never tell a lie. No clear idea why I'm writing these poems for her when she doesn't seem to be at all interested in them. But she's an inspiration, and that is something I refuse to ignore or deny as I turn the page and press play on the jukebox in my hungry mind. Television screen breeds discontent. I'll read this for David Byrne. Laurie Anderson, Mr. Green Jeans. Been a favorite for a good long while, but not until last night did I enter her magic theater. I was immediately taken aback by the jive she spread, like salmon cream cheese on an everything bagel. Her eyebrows caught me by surprise, as did her big ass that called out to me like a lonely planet revolving around a fiery sun. I wanted to reach out and bite it, or at the very least take shelter beneath its plump and erudite tendencies. Television breeds discontent. That's what all the punks say. But I tend to disagree, because I'll take entertainment in any form, as long as it distracts me from the everyday grind of pushing away from another bland crisis in these days of bedlam and bondage. I cannot lie. When she mentioned the Celestine prophecy, I got an erection because I wasn't used to entering a chat room and leaving with more than just sticky hands. She got my brain pumping and my heart thinking as I welcomed the intrusion, because too much melancholia makes Jack a dull boy, and sometimes even a serial killer. Erudite. This is called mental health. It's no secret. Been out to lunch since before I can even remember. In fact, I remember nothing, and nothing is all I hold on to. When she appeared before me, it took my breath away and all my loose change. Dressed in her birthday suit and an ability to change according to the seasons, she called my bluff while going beneath the hood and replacing any loose hoses. I believed I was in love. Excuse me. But that's always been my cross to bear. We live on Flintstones chewables and our inability to ever finish anything we start. We break beneath the falsified pressure of another cooked election or email hacked for the sake of ridicule and redundancy. Let's stop jumping for joy and leave Mary alone, because before we know it, we're all going to go up in a puff of secondhand smoke. It's no secret. I was born with an anchor tied to my ankle, and like all ankle bracelet babies, I'm bound to get mine before the sun sets or gets its teeth kicked in by an envious and devout moon. Ready to deliver the good news, before coming to terms with none of the news being all that good, and the blood-spattered morning just keeps reminding me we're all doomed. This poem's for Tamara Rose. I don't like knowing your heart has been broken. Gonna write you something profound to sweep you right off your Dick Van Dyke drop feet. Gonna swing for the fences and pray I don't hit a foul ball. Moses was delivered like a bad pun to a people with nothing but unleavened time on their half-feline, half-woman hands. I wandered around that desert like a Hebrew with a bad head cold, in need of nurturing and directions to the nearest clean restroom. A long time ago, I stopped being a part of the singles scene because no one ever seemed much interested in what I coveted like a newborn son. I've treasured you, Tamara Rose, since first meeting you, when you and Fred Zahner were dating. I know, he prefers to be called Damon's ex, but I've always found Fred to be more interesting than his arch nemesis Damon. You were more than his better half. You were the blood that kept right on dripping after everyone, including the undead, had their say and left the Temple Mount for a less compromised energy vortex. I'd like to set up a play date for our chakras. I'd like to play a game of Twister with you wearing nothing but your sarcasm. I had this dream where I woke up next to you, and all that was left was a skeleton, and that winning smile, that winning Indiana smile that keeps me coming back for more. Like an award-winning buffet, or a slinky that's discovered a new spring in its step. Psychotic break, inertia in spades. I'd like to read this one for Mr. Bojangles. I write words like no one else. Maybe that's why no one listens. Either they cannot hear the brilliance, or they can hear it and it's just too much for their outmoded intellects. Shall we break for tea and break a few skulls, Mike? How do you feel about violence and all the crying silences? I look forward to when I lay my head down on the soaking pillow and either wake up in a daydream or not at all. Some will read these words as depressing, when nothing could be further from the dislocated truth. I'm no suicide case. In fact, I don't even believe in death wishes, because when you blow out the birthday candles, everything you wish for rarely comes true. And when it does come true, watch out. It's been so long since I've seen the real you. In fact, it's been decades since I felt comfortable in my own skin. Rusty recently asked about Katie Boyd and the poems I've written for her. It's nice when someone makes more than an effort and clearly cares about you. I write words like no one else, and some take notice, while most could give a shit less. Me, I'm just doing my best to doggy paddle through the wistfulness of when I was a child. And a curfew actually meant more than promises broken. My heart was open for so long, I started to take false positives for granted. One more. This is entitled Balcony. I am Juliet, and you are my Romeo. I have the window open. Hopefully we're catching a little noise from outside. We want that. We like the atmosphere. Balcony. Sometimes we fight and argue, and that's how I know we're really friends, because we always come back stronger than we were before. We've known each other for well over 15 years, and I still respect and cherish her as much as I did the very first time we met in that coffee house on Fifth Avenue. She bleeds poisoned cupcake poetry with sequined words and pageantries of distorted horn blasts. She doesn't waste her time with political maneuvering because she knows and feels what's important and acts on it with every mindful and unmindful step she takes. Our poetry is vastly different, as is our take on most everything. But with those two very dissimilar viewpoints, we've retaken a photograph of poetic lands yet uncharted or visited by the likes of our terrestrial selves. Something is burning, and I believe it's the engines of forethought held captive in our brains like molten lava cupcakes, or all beef hot dogs, smoldering over a remedial campfire of accidental brilliance. My hands were dirty until she forced them beneath the faucet and washed them clean of dispersion and aspirations of self-inflicted vertigo. I, in turn, did the same for her by growling litanies of undiminished otherness into her ears of trance and fury. It's a lost cause, attempting to make the world over in our own images, because the world has its own plans, having little to do with our own blown-out birthday candle wishes. Sometimes she gets me wrong, and sometimes I get her right. And together, what we're left with is worth more than all the empty words piling up in the parking lots of our unscripted stagecoach minds. Poetry is life, not only proof of life. And if you're using it to become more popular or to advance your own bullshit cause, well, then you're missing the point. Juliet knows this as she leaves corrupted hellcats in her wake, and emerges from the incurable flames toasty and totally radicalized on her own terms and frosted terminology. I'm going to read one more. Bloodbath. I do write a lot, and a lot of these poems, some of them I remember, and some of them not. It's like, what? Really? Bloodbath. I will die in a hail of bullets. It'll happen lickety-split, because the unconscious mind must pay for the sins of the undead. Refusing payment will only get you in a bigger mess, because the horror is too splendid to foretell and too absurd to relive. These words, just words, and still they will keep me dry and filled with possibility, because they come from someplace other than this kingdom we could never quite accept as ours. I've been a stray dog since before I was even born. My mother's favorite. I betrayed her for a father who only cared about his own skin and never received his children for the blessing they are. Some bloodbaths are communal. Others only beget more violence. When told guns don't kill people, people kill people, understand the simplicity of these words and how ignorance can just as easily be sprayed like bullets into a person's flesh. The darkness of night welcomes me like an angelic kiss. A new morning spits me out like uncured meat. You were always my first choice. Even and especially when you hated me for the choices I refused to make. I'm going to read one more. I promise, one more. Nature cannot be composed. Less guns, less God. We're so doomed. Waiting for them to show the condo, it's time for me to leave. Crossroads call out to me like a frozen lake. Some poems take longer to birth. We're all midwives in our own ways and deplorable means. Hide your eyes. I am ready to flash the world my non-essentials. Less emotional baggage. Less hypocritical bullshit. We're so out of touch. I walked the pier until the wind kicked up a hollowing ultimatum. Linda walked to the end and thankfully made it back to the picnic table. We were lost, and then we were found, buked and scorned by lasting first impressions. Waiting for them to knock on the cell door and ask what I want for my last meal. It's time to cozy up to the governor and pray a stay of execution is in my near future. Don't rely upon coincidence when chaos keeps you in line with a closed fist. My name's Charles Cicirella. Thanks for watching. I hope you like it and dig it. I'd like somebody now to buy me a cheeseburger.